ahead and get started. First of all, thank you very much for allowing me to kind of speak to you today. Um, a couple things. I've been involved with Camp Joy now. I was kind of corrected after the last service. It's been 3 years that I've been involved with Camp Joy. Dave, has run the youth program here, obviously, and my sons, Austin and Cameron, were a member of the youth program. And my son Austin originally went, he came home and he said, Dad, he goes, you really got to be involved in stuff like this. He goes, we could really use your help. And, first of all, when they start asking for stuff, as most kids do, you're like, yeah, I got it, no problem, and we can work through it. And then this is something he continued to push me and say, you really need to be involved in this and you really need to be a part of this. I obliged him and decided to go on it. Last year being the first year, you go on these trips and you meet all these kids and you meet these, I shouldn't even say kids, young adults actually, and the adults that give their time to go to these, and you're always very amazed at the skill and the giving and the passion behind the people that are involved in these things. This year, Dave had contacted me and said, Gene, we need you to go up ahead of time, kind of scope out what we're up against and what we got for our project this year. And when I went, I stepped out of my truck and literally just took a deep breath. I looked at it and said, we got 5 days. And I already knew the list of projects that we had to do in 5 days. And we went through, and my son Cameron was with me, and I said, Cameron, snap as many pictures as you can. We need as much information as we can get. And I was talking to the homeowners, and I was talking to Ron, who was our person running the job for us from Camp Joy. And we finished everything up, and I immediately got on the phone, and I called Dave on the way down the road, and I said, he goes, hey, Gene, how you doing? I go, Dave, we got to talk. And he goes, what? I go, we got 5 days, and it's by far more than I think we can ever accomplish. And I said, how many people do we have coming? He said, he goes, looks like around 25. I said, well, we're going to need every bit of it to accomplish this. The kids came, or the young adults came, and we all, gathered up at the first meeting. And I was very upfront with everybody. And I said, look, we've got a lot of work to do. There's an immense amount of work to get done in a very short time. And, it's going to take everybody using every bit of skill that they have to do it. And I didn't want to scare anybody, but I wanted to be honest, because this was probably, in my opinion, one of the roughest that I've seen. It was in dilapidated shape beyond the point of, I would say, repair. In my opinion, if they had said, Gene, what do you think, where should we start? I'd say level and just start over. And that's from a construction knowledge standpoint. But with that said, Camp Joy was willing. They got us every bit of the materials we asked for and more. Jobs like this, you always say, well, I need 1 2x4. At the end of the day, you need 3, because those jobs change. As you pull things apart, it's kind of like an onion, and you find different things that happen. And the team members will tell you the job changed tenfold from day one to the end. To kind of take a step back and talk a little bit about, my feeling about Camp Joy. I can remember sitting on a roof with my dad when I was 16. And my dad said, look, I'll save you $1 million in your lifetime if you listen to me. And I'll tell you, at that point, I looked at my dad, and he was not the brightest man in the world, I will tell you. He didn't know anything. I thought, the man's just lost it. He has no idea. About 2 years later, he was the brightest man I ever met. He gained a great deal of knowledge in just 2 years' time. He was very smart. The one thing he also told me sitting on that roof that day was that you need to pass it on. Make sure that your kids, make sure anybody you come in contact with accepts it and pass it on. So I go there, and Dave always says, well, Gene's kind of that crew leader, and what I would tell you is I'm not. These young adults, these other adults that went, have a lot more skill than they give themselves credit for. They would come to me and say, and Robin would tell you, I heard my name 5 million times in 5 days, to the point where I was in the middle of the night waking up going, what? I got it, what? Because there was so many people calling my name. Gene, can you come over? And every single time what I found was they knew the answer. They knew what they needed to do. They just kind of needed that, for some reason, reassurance to say they got it. So they did it. There was one spot where we had a situation where the floor was completely rotted out in the bathroom, and because of that, we had to do some work on the bathroom, replace all the floor, which meant when you lift the floor up, then the joists were rotted, and the joists below those were rotted, and there was 3 layers of floor, and it had been going on for a very long time. And Chris Rogers, who a lot of you know, was kind of the lead on that part of the job, and Chris was working on it, and I said, just be careful because things are fragile and they could break, and what you don't want to do is it'll just keep spreading and you'll end up with more and more work to do. And Kenneth was there, and I think Cameron was working in there as well. And I'm out working on a part of the trailer next to it, helping with some skirting we were putting up to weather, and I see Chris kind of moseying up next to the trailer, and I looked up and I said, hey, what's up, Shelby? And he goes, so if there was anything in that bathroom you didn't want me to do or break, what would that be? I said, I don't want you to break the toilet, and definitely don't break the flange. He goes, so which of the two would be the one you really don't want me to do? And I said, whatever you do, just don't break the flange. He goes, yeah, I broke it good. And I just laughed. And I looked at him, and the look on his face, and he goes, yeah, and I drew the short straw to tell you. And I said, so we take it back and we fix it. We need a new flange. We're going to need pipe. Let's take a look at it. And he said, Gene, as I just touched the pipe, it fell apart and fell apart and it fell apart. And by the time it was over, he practically redid the system as a whole. But it's something like that, they didn't give up. There was dedication, there was devotion, and they wanted to go that one step further. And, midway through the week, usually by Wednesday, there's a time when the young adults are able to take some time. We cut off half day. They get to go swimming, kind of relax a little bit, brush some of the dust off that they've gathered up for the first few days. Well, midway through the week, we're looking at this job going, we're behind. There's no way we're going to finish this. And they were so, I guess, ingrained in that family and the children and what they needed and what they had to do. And Debbie and Dave said, Gene, what do you think? And I said, it's up to the team. Whatever they want to do, we'll make it happen one way or another. And they were like, we're not taking the break. We're going to work straight through. We want to just keep doing it. And they did. They worked tirelessly day and night. I've had many people say, how do you go on a trip with that many, quote unquote, to them kids and keep everything under control? There was no control to keep. They acted as adults the entire time. They worked very hard. There were team leaders. I didn't have to run jobs. I gave team leaders, and when they had a question, they came and got me. It may have been 25 or 30 times a day, but they came and got me. And then, as I said, 90% of the time they knew what the answer was. They just needed a little bit of guidance. I will tell you that the impact that it has on you, I work in the business world. And this, to me, when I came back, the people where I worked said, this is your vacation. To me, it is, because when you work in the business world and you look at it and you say, there's margins to keep, and we can only help somebody so much because we're not going to profit enough from it for it to be in the long run. And I'm not downplaying my company. Fortune 500 companies are like that. They're in business. They have people to be responsible to and stockholders and all those people. And I get it. I understand it. But at some point you look at it and you go, is this really what it's all about? Is it about the almighty dollar, really? I can't help somebody because the margin's 2% off. I do hundreds of reports, and I look at it and go, we could take one step further so we don't make that extra money on this. It can't be like that. So Camp Joy to me is really that refreshing, that back to ground zero that says, it's not all about this. And I see that in these young adults' eyes, and I see it in the adults that go there. It's not all about that for them either. When they go there, it's giving. So, God willing, I'll be there too, moving forward. And, I hope that we continue with the support from St. Paul's, because it's immense. Even if you aren't there, we can feel it, when we're there, that we have the support and everything of our congregation behind us. So, thank you very much.